we have, while our video series 45 discussed the various items of a balance sheet coming under equities and liabilities. For the purpose of discussion, we have taken the balance sheet format prescribed by the Companies Act 2015. Now let us continue the discussion on the asset side of the balance sheet. Here again, the basis of discussion is the format of balance sheet prescribed in the Companies Act 2015 and appearing as in the Schedule 3. Now on the asset side also, similar to the liability side, we have 4 columns: particulars, the note number, figures as per the current reporting period, and figure as per the previous reporting period. On this side, we have non-current assets and current assets as the broad classification. First, go to the non-current assets. Under the non-current assets, the first item which comes is fixed assets. The fixed assets are again subdivided into tangible fixed assets. Number 2, intangible fixed assets. 3, capital work in progress and intangible assets under development. There are some more items coming under the non-current assets. First, let us finish this and then move on to the other non-current assets. The tangible fixed assets, the examples could be land, building, plant and machinery, furniture and fixtures, vehicles, etc. Now, in the balance sheet, what will appear here is the depreciated value, or I will say the net block of the fixed assets. Suppose I want to know how the depreciated value is arrived at, you have to go to that particular schedule. Say the schedule is given as 5. When you go to the schedule 5 or the note number 5, you will see the gross block of fixed assets. Then you will see less cumulated depreciation. Then what you will get is the net block of fixed assets. So what will appear in the balance sheet is the depreciated value of the fixed assets. To know more about the gross block and the cumulative depreciation provided, you may have to refer to the note which prescribes that. Now the second item is intangible fixed assets. We know that there are certain assets which cannot be touched or felt. They are goodwill, patent, brand equity, etc. They all come under the classification of intangible assets. The third one is the capital work in progress. Work in progress means anything which is under the progress, which is not yet completed. Say for example, on 20th of March, the company started constructing a factory building, which is an addition to the existing one. The activity of the factory is going on. They felt that there is a need to increase the space, for which they are constructing an additional factory building. On 20th of March, the company spent around 20 lakhs. But when the balance sheet date comes, this is not completed. So they have spent only 20 lakhs. The building may be completed somewhere in April or May. But the company had spent the money and there is a source which appears on the equity and liability side. So naturally, to balance the balance sheet on the asset side, whatever the money spent on that asset should appear, which will appear as capital work in progress. Suppose on the 31st of March next year, suppose this is 20, on 31 through 21, this is completed, say company has already spent 15 lakh, then it will get added to the gross block of the fixed assets. So any asset which is in the progress of construction or it is yet to be put into use will appear as a capital work in progress, because anything asset which is not put into use cannot be depreciated as per IT Act. That is the reason why it appears as a capital work in progress. Now, intangible assets under development. Suppose a company is using a software, it is developed in that software, they have already spent some money, but the development of the software is not yet completed. Such items will appear under intangible assets under development. Now, we will go to the next non-current assets. The next non-current asset is non-current investment. The next one is deferred tax assets. The next one is long-term loans and advances. And the last one is other non-current assets. So we have completed one item coming under fixed assets, and now let us move on to the other second non-current assets. It is nothing but non-current investment. Suppose the company has made some investment in the bond, shares or debentures of a company. They are not available for sale. The company does not want to sell off the instruments during the current year and would like to hold on to that for a further period beyond 12 months. Such investments will come under non-current investment. Deferred tax assets I have already explained to you, like in the case of a deferred tax liability. Suppose a company, when they follow the Companies Act and the Income Tax Act, there is some tax receivable from the income tax. It will appear as a deferred tax assets. As I have already told you, in case when we are analyzing the balance sheet, if it appears as a deferred tax assets, we will deduct that from the net worth before doing the balance sheet analysis. Then third one is the long-term loans and advances. That means when it is a long-term borrowing, it is a liability which appears on the liability side of the balance sheet. When it is a loans and advances appearing on the asset side, means the company has given the loans and advances to somebody. It could be to the employees. It could be to the promoters. It could be to any other firm or company. If it is given as a loan which is repayable beyond a period of 12 months, they will appear as long-term loans and advances. If it is a short one, that is if it is to be recovered within a period of 12 months, it will appear as a short term in the current assets. Then what are the other non-current assets? Other non-current assets could be, I have explained to you that to be eligible for classification, any asset as a current asset, for a banker, two conditions need to be satisfied. One is that asset should be a part of the working capital cycle. The second, the asset should be convertible into cash in the next 12 months. If any one of these conditions not satisfied, it has to be moved from current assets to non-current assets. See, there are some current assets which are part of the working capital cycle, but I cannot convert that into cash. Example could be a non-moving stock. I have some outdated stock which I cannot sell. It's a part of the working capital cycle, but I cannot convert that into cash. So naturally, it has to move to non-current asset. Second, another example could be trade debtors more than 6 months old. I have sold some goods to somebody. There is a dispute, either in terms of the quality or quantity or whatever it may be, and the buyer is not paying. And it has already crossed 6 months. In which case, the recoverability, though it is a part of the working capital cycle, I am unable to recover or convert that into cash. So naturally, any trade debtors more than 6 months old also comes under classification in the non-current assets. You may ask me a question, why it is 6 months, why not 12 months? The reason is, in the balance sheet format provides trade receivable exceeding 6 months, trade receivable within 6 months. Since only that classification is available, any trade receivable not received within a period of 6 months, we move that to the non-current assets. The next one is any advance paid for capital assets or capital advance. I have purchased a machinery, or I am intending to purchase a machinery for which I have paid advance. The machinery has not come. I have paid. But since it is not a part of the working capital cycle, any advance paid for acquiring a capital asset will appear as a non-current assets. The next one is security deposits. Say for example, if the company is using a rented factory premises, naturally the landlord would have asked them to keep a security deposit with them. If the company's products are excisable, the company could have kept a security deposit with the excise department. Suppose the company is having a high tension power connection, the company would have given a deposit to the electricity department. As long as this activity continues, they cannot withdraw the security deposit. So such security deposits, which are kept either with the landlord or with the electricity department or with the excise department, they have to come as a non-current assets. So with this, we will move on to the current assets. Before that, so we so far learned that the non-current assets can be classified broadly into 4 classes. One is a fixed asset, second is a non-current investment, third is a deferred tax asset, fourth is a long-term loan, and fifth is the other non-current assets. Now, whenever there is a borrowing or whenever the company has given some loans and advances, the bifurcation need to be provided, whether it is secured or unsecured. If it is secured, a brief description on the type of security should also be provided. It will appear in both sizes. Suppose in the case of a borrowing, it's a long-term borrowing or a short-term borrowing. They have to say whether it is secured or unsecured. A bifurcation will be given. And what is the security provided for that secured portion will have to be explained. Similarly, when the company is giving a loans and advances to somebody, the bifurcation that whether it is a secured one or an unsecured one. If it is a secured one, then what is the security provided by the person who took the loan should be provided. That bifurcation needs to be given. Now, having understood the non-current part of it, let us move to the current assets. Current assets, we have 1, current investment. 2, we have inventories. 3, we have trade receivables. D, we have cash and cash equivalents. Then we have other current assets. Let us go to each one of them. First one is the current investment. Current investment is nothing but company is making investment in the shares, debentures, bonds, etc. and they are available for sale. The moment there is a upswing in the share market, the company intends to sell it. So they are called as current investment. The purpose is to convert that within a period of 12 months. The intention is. The second one is inventories. Inventories is nothing but, if in a manufacturing firm, if you look at, it is raw material, semi-finished goods, finished goods, and consumables. They come under the category of inventories. When I say consumables, consumables are not for sale. Therefore, they are consumed during the production. Say, for example, lubricants, grease, oil, or even for that matter, welding rods used. They are all consumed. So, any consumable is also a part of the inventories. Now, coming to trade receivables. Opposite to that is a trade payable in the liability side. Trade receivable is the company sells some goods to the buyers and the company permits them some time to make payment. Say, for example, 45 days or 60 days. So, any amount due from the buyers as on the date of balance sheet will be known as trade receivables, but it pertains only to the trade transactions. Any receivable to be collected from anything other than the trading activity will have to come under other current assets. Then cash and cash equivalents. They are nothing but either the cash in hand or the cash balances with the bank or deposits kept with the bank or the checks or demand drafts which are available with the company, which are yet to be collected, which are yet to be given to the bank for collection. They all come under the category of cash and cash equivalents. Then the last one is other current assets. The other current assets includes anything which doesn't come into this category. That is what other current assets. And it also includes another one is short-term loans and advances. So anything which doesn't fit into any of these things but is an asset which is convertible into cash within the next 12 months will appear under current assets. Next one is short-term loans and advances. That is, company is giving either a loan or giving an advance for a short-term period. Short-term period means to be recovered within a period of 12 months. Let us understand now the loans part of it. The company is giving a festival advance to employees, recover within a period of 12 months. Or the company is giving a loans and advances to the promoters, which is to be recovered within the next 12 months. Or company is giving a loan to any other firm or company in a group or otherwise. So they all come under the category of loans, short-term loans, because it is recoverable within a period of 12 months from the date of balance sheet. When I come into the advances, the examples could be advance paid to the supplier of raw material. Second one is advance tax paid. They come under the category of current assets. So in nutshell, the current assets are divided into current investments, inventories, trade receivables, cash and cash equivalent, other current assets, and short-term loans and advances. Anything which doesn't fit into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will go as a other current assets. Say, for example, the company has given an advance to the printing unit and it collects it because it's not a related. Naturally, that will come as other current assets. Then the total of all assets will come. Now, to connect the liabilities and assets together, we have on the liability side, we have equity and liability. And the liabilities are again divided into non-current liability and current liability. When it comes to the asset side, this is the liability side. When you come to the asset side, we have non-current assets and we have current assets. So this is how the format of the balance sheet Schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2015 is described. Having understood the various items of the balance sheet, the equities and liability side and also the asset side, we will get into the analysis part of the balance sheet in the next video. If you have understood the video series 45 and the current video is 46 and understood it, please press the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.